Hello students, welcome to PW OnlyIAS. I'm here Harpreet Singh with a daily analysis of the Hindu from 10th of October 2024. We have introduced a lot of new initiatives today, like the news in shots, and along with it, a detailed analysis of the various news. So let us see what is in store for you in today's analysis. This is a Telegram account where this particular PDF and what is being displayed on the board will be available to you, along with a lot of other materials which is important for your preparation. Let us begin. What are the topics that we have taken for today's analysis? First, carbon border adjustment mechanism, fortified rice, ASEAN, editorial dealing with mental health, because today is a mental health day, news in shorts, and along with it the MCQs, which are again relevant for your preliminary examination. Let us begin today's analysis. Now, in today's article, the Honorable Finance Minister had said European Union CBAM deforestation norms unilateral and arbitrary. Now, this is very important. This can be asked in your prelims as well as in your mains examination. What is CBAM? It is basically Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM. Let us understand the definition and we'll understand the concept also. See, it refers to the carbon tax which would be imposed on imports of products made from the processes which are not environmentally sustainable or non-green. That means, supposing that the European Union is importing certain goods, let us say steel, or let us say certain products which are manufactured in some other country, say like India, but it is involving lot of, let us say, unsustainable or let us say non-green means. Let us say they are using coal as a means of energy and then producing a product. So what is going to happen is, on the other hand, the European Union countries, their companies would have spent a lot of money in order to transition to the non-renewable resources or green standardization. So the cost would have increased because of that. On the other hand, in countries like developing countries which are manufacturing certain products which are, let us say, non-sustainable or let us say non-green, would be producing certain products, let us say, at a cheaper rate. Now, this, according to the European Union, creates a divide. Now, for example, India is, let us say, exporting a good, let us say, steel to European Union, because it is being produced in India, or for that matter, any country which is using non-green mechanisms for producing something. So if a steel is being exported to European Union, that means being imported by European Union, then the European Union would impose, let us say, a heavy tax on the products that are being imported from India or other countries which are using environmentally unsustainable or non-green means. Now, this will create a lot of issues for the export sector of India and make the a sense of competitiveness that is there will be disrupted. Now, this imposition of tax is basically carbon border adjustment mechanism. We'll see also in a case study format how it basically works, but repeating it again, refers to the carbon tax that would be imposed on the imports of products from the processes or countries which are using the processes which are environmentally unsustainable and non-green means. Now let us move ahead and see. See, background, CBAM is a part of Fit for 55 in 2020 package, which is European Union's plan to reduce the greenhouse emission gases. Now, they have a plan by 2030, like along with the sustainable development goals, they have basically aiming to reduce the greenhouse emission gases. So, at least by 55% by 2030. Now, compared to the 1990 levels with the European climate law. So, this is what is basically being aimed. So, they aim that 55% reduction in the greenhouse gas emission by 2030. Now, it is a policy tool by ensuring that imported goods. Now, what is this? CBAM is a policy tool that is being used by the European Union, that imported goods are subject to same carbon cost and products as that is produced in the European Union. Now, that means they are basically, according to the European Union, in order to create a level playing field, according to European Union, they are imposing taxes on the goods or products that are imported from the countries which are manufacturing their products through, let us say, processes that involve non-green or environmentally unsustainable mechanisms. Let us understand this. See, supposingly, There are, let us, this concept definitely is a little complex, but let us simplify it and understand it. See, the European Union company, let us say E, is producing, let us say, aluminium and steel. Let us suppose that. On the other hand, Indian company, let us say I, is producing aluminium and steel, right? There are two countries. Now, do you realize because of the target for 2030 that they have to reduce emissions by 55%, right? They have to reduce the emissions. What will this lead to? The companies like E will have to make heavy investment to upgrade their industries, to upgrade their industries. Now, what does this involve? That means they would have spent a lot of money, lot of extra money because of the green norms in order to produce these. Because see, if you want to reduce the emissions and if you want to have to meet that standardization, you will have to invest a lot of money towards technology, towards water emission norms upgradation, and all the technology that is used so that the emission norms are met and then the production takes place. So that is already a lot of burden on the companies that are producing certain products in Europe, right? On the other hand, you see over here, let us say Indian companies. Over here, you know that greater than 70% is through the coal, the energy output. The energy output in India is greater than 70% through coal. Now, coal is a environmentally unsustainable and non-green means of production of energy. So that means when aluminium or steel is being produced in India by a company, it will be mostly be using this as a resource, right? So that means this company is producing a product, let us say aluminium or steel, which is being processed or using something that is non-green, right? Now, on the other hand, this company has spent a lot of money towards increasing or meeting the standardization or requirements, but this company would have not because they're already using, let us say, coal as a means. Now, when this company is exporting to Europe, European Union are saying that these companies are using non-green means. So in a way, you'll be realizing if they allow this import to take place in Europe, two things will happen. First, it will be promoting these companies also to continue with the non-green means first. And second, why the companies of the Europe should suffer extra because they have made a lot of investment towards upgradation in order to meet the green standards. So what the European Union is suggesting under CBAM, that if this is coming here, we will tax it. A heavy tax would be imposed on these things that can range even till greater than 50% tax. Now the Indian companies are worried. That is why the finance minister has said that if this tax is being imposed for the exports that India does in the form of, let us say, aluminium, steel, and so many goods, then their products will not be able to compete with those European countries which are producing the same thing. And European Union, again, in a way of climate standardization and all, is achieving two things. First, forcing the Indian companies also in a way to meet their standards. And second, it is going to benefit their companies because their companies have already invested a heavy amount of money in their technology upgradation. So this is what is the CBAM mechanism that is basically going on. Now let us move ahead. Impact on India. See, impact on India is India's export to iron and steel and aluminium will have a levy of close to 19.8 to 52.7%. You can imagine the cost escalation. Automatically, the companies who are importing Indian aluminium and steel will say it is already so expensive. Why shall we import from India? We can use the production of aluminium and steel that is being done in the Europe only. So what happens? Our export market is going to suffer very badly. Starting from 1st January 2026, these norms would be imposed. Now, what happens? Risk of import competitiveness that I've already told. Now, the thing is, right now, it is initially said to be applicable to, let us say, certain sectors like aluminium and steel. But if it goes on to the other parts, like pharmaceutical industry, you realize that even though the pharmaceutical industry follows its own standards, but the energy or the energy that is being used, electricity that is being used by those companies is also majorly coming from the coal-based or thermal power plants, which are again, according to European Union, environmentally unsustainable and along with it, non-green. So what will happen? Sectors like pharma, pharmaceuticals, textile, chemicals, and petroleum products are also going to suffer badly because taxes would be imposed on these sectors also. Now that will make the complete sector, that is the export-centric sectors, which India is basically exporting to the European Union countries, out of the competition or the race of what the products that were being exported there. Now, that is quite a concern. Along with it, potential death nail for the medium sector industries. You know, MSME sector is one which contributes 42% of the total export of India. Now, when we are talking about steel industries, a large number of medium sector industries that are there, which are also exporting their products and goods to, let us say, the European Union. If these standards are imposed on them, they do not have that much money to either meet their standards of the European Union, and that will basically be a death nail to these industrial sectors. So India, that is why, has challenged this in the World Trade Organization, that this needs to be stopped, and this is basically like a monopolistic attitude of the European Union against the various countries which are basically trying to adapt and move towards the green energy, but you cannot force them to do that. And that is what is being questioned and debated right now. Now, please understand, next question. Next question that topic comes is, this is again, the Union Minister, Mr. Ashwini, had basically said that Union Cabinet gives a nod for the continuation of the fortified rice supply till December 28. Continuation of free fortification rice supply. Now, please remember that if you're talking about this topic, we need to know what basically fortification is and what is fortification of rice. Now, please understand, when you produce, let us say, any rice or whatever be the thing, you realize that it may not have all the necessary or the required nutrients in it. So it is like an addition to the food. You add certain nutrients to make it more, let us say, for a balanced diet, especially for the vulnerable sections. So let us see basically what fortification involves. See, it is a process of adding nutrients to food products that are not naturally present or present in insufficient amount. There are certain nutrients are going to be present. Let us say any, for that matter, whether it is rice, wheat, whatever be the product, food product, it is going to have certain nutrients, but not, it might be having certain nutrients which are required, but that might be absent or insufficient amount. Now that is what creates an issue. So that is why the concept of fortification came, where adding of the nutrients are done to the food products which are not naturally present or in insufficient amount. Now coming to the concept of fortification of rice, what does it mean? See, it can be done by coating. This is one of the ways, coating the rice grain with a premix of nutrients. That means you have a rice grain, you coat that rice grain with a premix, a mixture of nutrients which are required, that can add all the nutrients that are required for eating while consuming rice, or by producing extruded rice kernels that are enriched with micronutrients and then blended with regular rice. So there are two things. See, what we are basically doing, there are various ways that it can be done. Major motive over here is so that when, let us say, in fortification of rice, if rice is being consumed, it might not naturally have all the nutrients that are required by the body. And specifically in the rural areas, or let us say even the midday meal schemes that are going on, we realize that various reports have come where nutrient deficiency has been observed among the children also. That is why in World Health Organization had recommended that fortification should be used as a means. Now, when the rice is being given to the children, and for that matter, the various people under, let us say, the targeted PDS also, we realize that the rice will be coated either, or certain nutrients in a form, various form can be added, or let us say certain kernels are nutrient based mixed with the other rice, so that it, in a way, the rice which has a lot of nutrients is consumed by the people. So there are various means through which fortification can be done. Simple way is generally coating a rice like when we say the rice grain with certain nutrients, a premixture is there. Now, when that is consumed, you have the essential nutrients and what are nutrients that are required by the body. Now, this is the process of fortification of rice. Now, when we move ahead, we realize that according to the Food Safety Standards Authority, FSSAI, 1 kg of fortified rice shall have iron of 28 mg to 42.5 mg, folic acid 75 to 125 micrograms, and vitamin B12 from 0.75 to 1.25 micrograms. Now, these are certain standardizations which you talked about. See, these standardizations are important because neither excess, neither less is what is the basic consensus that the doctors as well as the World Health Organization has in mind. You have to maintain a particular standard, right? So this is what is the fortification of rice. What are the benefits according to the World Health Organization? See, improve nutritional status and health outcomes. We have already seen that close to 52% of the women in India are suffering from anemia, right? So iron deficiency. We have seen through various reports that close to 51% of the children in India are malnourished. So that is why we have Poshan Abhiyan and all, in that we have such initiatives that have been taking place so that not only the nutrient deficiency and all type of problems with respect to the nutrition that is being faced by the people, irrespective of the age, are basically being adhered to. That is why these processes are in a way a contingency measure, an important measure, an important intervention so that we improve the nutritional standards. We know that if the nutritional standards are not improved, in long term it is going to create a lot of health burden on India itself. Out of pocket expenditure of those people will also increase. Along with it, an unhealthy body is also going to suffer from the work related issues. So all these things are very much related. Along with the Indian Medical Association, recent reports have said that these nutritional deficiencies later on tend to create are associated with mental health disorders also, which is already being seen. We realize that according to the certain Times Network survey also, we realize that 72% of the Indians at present are suffering from one or the other form of mental health disorder or deficiency. This has also got to do with the relationship with the mental health as well as the other physical health dimensions. Improve cognitive development. We know that the brain is developing till the age of 5. It matures, and after that, obviously, we learn a lot of things. But during that time, if the necessary nutritional inputs are given, a proper cognitive development has been seen and observed through various anthropological studies. The proper intervention at the right time is very, very important. Enhanced material and infant. Material also, infant also, plus maternal health also. Infant material, enhanced material, infant and maternal health dimensions can be seen. Iron fortification helps in reducing the maternal anemia and associated risk, because you are basically coating in a way, like we have folic acid capsules also, but when we coat it with the iron fortification of the rice, it basically is very important for the maternal health, because see, lot of maternal deaths take place because of the iron deficiency. Due to excessive bleeding is also associated with that. So during the delivery or the birth taking place of the child, so that is why these steps are very, very important, or a contingency measure that has to be taken or being done by the government of India. Let's move ahead. Prime Minister Modi to hold bilateral talks with the leaders of the ASEAN India Summit. Now, please understand that today's Thursday, the Honorable Prime Minister is going to basically visit Laos and attend this summit. So whatever the outcome would be of the ASEAN India Summit would be basically dealt with us in day or two as the news and the outcomes come. Before that, let us understand what ASEAN is. That is what is important, because tomorrow we will be having a clear picture of what all decisions have been taken, what are all dimensions that are associated with the ASEAN India Summit. So let's move ahead and see. ASEAN. Now, ASEAN basically stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Now, it was established on the 8th of August, 1967 in Bangkok, Thailand. And because it was signed in Bangkok, it is also known as the Bangkok Declaration. This is something very important. This can be asked in your prelims as one of the statements that are present in your prelims during the MCQs. Bangkok by the founding fathers of the country. So who were the founding members of this ASEAN? It was Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and Philippines. Now, this is something that you should know, who were the founding members. Along with that, we will be seeing that other members also joined. So initially, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are the 5 founding members who basically signed the Bangkok Declaration. Now comes the another thing. Who are the members now? I have put a map over here because see, a pictorial representation does help you to remember the content also. So now we have Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, Vietnam, Philippines, and Laos. And it is here that basically Honorable Prime Minister Modi is basically going and attending the ASEAN India Summit. So this is something that you should keep in mind because as Prime Minister is going there, then this question automatically becomes important with respect to your prelims and your mains examination, right? Okay. Now, what is the purpose of ASEAN? Now, this is something that I've taken from the official document and the official website of ASEAN. Now, when the papers are made for the preliminary examination also, they tend to basically pick up from the official websites. So, what are the principles? What is the purpose of the ASEAN? We see accelerate economic growth, cultural development, and social progress in the region, right? In the Southeast Asian region. Promoting peace and stability in the region, promoting active collaboration and mutual assistance on a common interest, cooperating for better usage of agriculture, industries, trade expansion, and the transport linkages among these countries, assisting member countries via training and research, and obviously promoting the Southeast Asian studies. Now, this is the purpose of ASEAN. So that means they're basically a group that is working towards mutual benefit, cooperation, economic, social development of their own countries and along with their interactions and interrelationships with the other countries. Now, this group itself is interacting with various other countries like ASEAN India Summit is basically aiming at this group interacting and having the relationships with India as a nation. Along with they have similar interaction with other countries also. Now, why this group basically is one strong group? Because see, you would have if you see the map, you'll be realizing that all are closely associated with one another. They are neighboring also in a way. So their interest to a certain extent are common. So that is why when they're dealing with other countries, they deal with the other countries as a block. Now that is basically helping for the mutual benefit of this group as well as the individual countries. Now, as we move ahead, please remember, there are fundamental principles of ASEAN. Now, this is being inspired by the Panchsheel. The Panchsheel of India, that was basically signed between India and China. It has taken its core ingredients from that and basically a little bit modified that. So what are the fundamental principles of ASEAN? Mutual respect for the independence and sovereignty, equality and territorial integrity, and natural identity of all nations, non-interference in the internal affairs of one another, settlement of disputes by peaceful manner, renunciation of threats or use of force, effective cooperation among themselves, national existence free from the external interference, subversion, and coercion. So these are the certain principles of the background. Like for example, earlier in the first statement says that you have to respect the sovereignty, the decision making, not to intervene in each other's internal affairs, equality and territory should be respected. Second is non-interference in the internal affairs, as we've already mentioned. Third, settlement of disputes. If the disputes arise, they need to be settled on a peaceful manner through the means of diplomacy. Renunciation of threats. That means you should not be using threats as a means to get certain things done from the members or the other members in a group, along with it as a group interacting with the other countries for that matter. Effective cooperation, that means cooperating with each other on various matters. National existence free from the external interference. That means they should be making sure that they do not come under the pressure of the external powers, and then that might create an issue. So national existence, that means their national existence is dependent on non-interference of the other powers also. So this is again the basic fundamental principles of ASEAN. Let's move ahead. What are the headquarters? It's in Jakarta, Indonesia. Working language is English. Next is the important article of today, which is basically dealing with the mental health issues. Now, please understand this editorial becomes very important because World Mental Health Day is a concern in today's world. Post the pandemic world, we saw a rapid rise in the mental health issues that are being associated with almost everybody. Now, irrespective of the age, even people of school going children, you will see, I'll take an example also, you will be seeing school going children are having cases of depression and anxiety. We see the lifestyle changing, we see the materialism rising, we see the disconnect with the family being present there. These are one of the various reasons that are basically contributing towards, obviously, the mental health issues. As you move ahead in your life, you realize that work-based tension come, financial stability, financial instability again creates an issue, relationship issues. Along with it, the lack of patience in today's generation is also being one of the reasons for the rise of anxiety and depression. Now, this is not only present among the mainstream population, but if you go to regions among the tribal groups also, you'll be realizing that various anthropological surveys have stated that among the tribals also there has been a rapid rise in the cases of anxiety and depression. Now, this again is a major concern. You would be realizing that few new studies have come up that it is there associating that the change in the climate, we realize that the temperature overall of the earth is increasing. Now they're seeing the change in the climate and the extremities of weather also are having an impact on the bodies of the people, and that is why that is also leading to mental health issues. Now, this is a very comprehensive problem, or a very big problem rather, I would say, that the people in India and across the world are facing. Now, what this article basically talks about is it gives a basic theme and understanding of what mental health is, why, what are the reasons, briefly they have discussed. And along with it, I'll be adding certain extra information to just add on to what is being stated in this particular article. Let us see first what the article says. In the introductory passage, it basically talks about the death of a 26-year-old girl who was working with EY, and along with it, a 38-year-old software engineer who died. The reasons being, some of the cases have been associated with the work pressure, stress, mental health dimensions that people are facing in today's time. This has come up of late a lot, and that is why it has been mentioned over here. Now, please remember, issues of anxiety, depression, and feeling for the lack of purpose. Please remember, sometimes you're very anxious. Being anxious sometimes is fine, but a prolonged anxiety is a point of concern. Along with it, sometimes feeling bad, mood swing is there, that is fine. But if you are with the thought process that I have no purpose in life, nothing is there, and that feeling is very prolonged, then that is also an issue of concern. And that is why we say anxiety, depression, and lack of purpose are certain things that are commonly being observed by the people. Now, this is, remember, this is a very complex issue. Why? People, even having very good jobs, getting good salaries, having people around them, might still feel or have the feeling of lack of purpose. That means, in spite of everything, they, because of the complexity of the problems that they might be feeling, they're not understanding what is going on, and they realize, what am I doing? That is the feeling of the lack of purpose that we basically come across, that the writer here mentions. Over here is the report by Lancet. Now, the Lancet report is important. It says that 197 million people in India are suffering from depression, anxiety, and one or the form of substance abuse. Now, substance abuse, consuming drugs, contraceptives, drugs, or even the use of, recently has come that contraceptive pills are also being used by people as a means of abuse. We would have never thought. Even in the laboratories, you realize benzene is there. That is being used. That is being mixed. Recent study came that is being mixed with certain contraceptive pills and being taken in the form of drugs. Then you have, even you would be seeing the whiteners that people get. That is being even smelled. We have seen in our school days iodix being consumed in breads. What are these? Why the people are doing? These types of abuses are also being taken as a means. Why? Because a substance abuse can lead to anxiety and depression, and a depressed and a person in a severe state of anxiety can, because of that feeling, consume drugs. So it is both a cause and effect. So when we move ahead, what the problem arises is, then what is the reason for these things that are happening? The article mentions materialism. That means we are closely attached to whatever things are around them. Material means a possession. You want a car, you want a house, you want a luxury brand bag, you want a luxury brand belt, you want expensive shoes. Materialism, again, when you are not able to get them, or let us say something is taking a lot of time, then what happens? Anxiety and depression creeps in, because we're not able to handle those emotions. We are more attached to materialistic dimensions. Materialism, disconnect from the community, and lack of self-awareness. Disconnect from the community. Remember one thing: whenever you face issues like anxiety and all, the main thing that happens is that people try to disconnect from the people or their parents or their friends, and that is what aggravates the issue. In today's world, if you are in your dealing with a mobile phone, digital world, you are sitting in a room, you will be eating your food in your room, not sitting with your parents or talking. That was the time earlier on when you had any issues, you could have talked with the parents and sorted those issues. Or let us say any problem that had come, the parents would guide you. But today, you're just occupied with your phone. So that means you're disconnecting with your family also and the general people as a whole. So when you disconnect with them, the possibility of anxiety rising tremendously increases. Next is lack of self-awareness. Please remember, there is a very popular saying by Socrates: an unexamined life is not worth living. What does it mean? When you do not examine your life, what are the dimensions, what are the issues, how to resolve them, then what is the purpose of life? People face the problem of mental health as purpose of life. So Socrates says an unexamined life is not worth living. That means when you feel that certain symptoms of these issues are coming, let us say loneliness for a prolonged time, you have lack of purpose, it is important you have the necessary intervention. Talk to your parents, visit a doctor, talk to your, let us say, elderly who have, let us say, know about these topics. That is what is being mentioned over here. If you feel such things, talk to the correct type of people. Those can be a psychiatrist, those can be doctors, other doctors, family doctors, friends. That is important. Along with it, along with the materialism and disconnect, he gives other reasons like urbanization. As the people are moving towards the urban region, let us say Delhi NCR regions, you see that the connect that people have with the rural regions is not there. There are hundreds and hundreds of flats there. Who is living in which flat, we do not know. It is an urban jungle. Over there, again, materialism is very important factor. What type of cars one is owning, what type of flat one is living, what type of standard of living one has. So that urbanization basically what does? It aggravates the materialistic dimension, and that obviously leads to cases of depression and anxiety. Along with it, you're far away from your homes, so that loneliness creeps in. Second is finance. Now, in the process or race of materialism, even if a person is earning a handsome salary or income, then also person is always unsatisfied. Why I am not earning that amount? Now that creates a pressure on the person, and then again a possibility of anxiety. Then financial instability also creates a lot of issues. Competition obviously is one thing, particularly among the students and particularly among the students who are in the school, college, or preparing for the competitive examination. We saw many people committing suicides and a lot of issues coming up. So what is the dimension over here? What is that issue? We realize that these competition basically aggravates a lot of issues related to that. Now, work culture, we've already seen work culture should also be regulated. It is very important. We realize that various people saying that continuously working for 14 hours a day is the culture. No, in a long term, after 10-15 years, you will not be in a state to even stand. This action should be taken by the government of India also to regulate these means, because in a corporate culture, it is like a master-slave relation that moves on in various corporates, particularly the consultancy firms. That is why we saw software engineers and consultants in E&Y basically having such issues. If you see again, next is consumerism, and consumerism obviously is related to the concept of materialism. Then we have issues of relationships. Now, please understand, people having issues of relationships, breakups, and all these things again aggravate a lot of issues, particularly when you are entering the phase of, let us say, working, you are, let us say, financially sound also now, you can afford to buy things. But at that time, when you realize, even after having such things, if you have heartbreaks and relationship issues, and people definitely face a lot of problems. Now, this is where the role of your, let us say, some intellectual sibling, an intellectual person, a person who you think who can talk to, friends in particular, comes and becomes very handy. Do not, if you have some issues, do not just keep it to yourself. Share it with them. That is what is the important thing. Now, as we move ahead, we realize that the similar thing is being explained here. Next is shift from individual to community is what is required. So the writers are mentioning what should be done. See, it is required that the education of the community is important. Do you realize earlier, if you go to go 20 years back, if you use the word depression, people will be saying, "Arey, what is depression?" Today, it is a reality. People used to suffer from depression during that time also, but there was lack of awareness. Now, important is that the community should also be made aware of that such things are happening, such problems are there, and we as a community should not stigmatize or see like in a stereotype such problems that are happening. We should work together towards resolving that. These things can be resolved, but if helped by the right set of people at the right time. So, from the individual perspective towards community action is what is required. Next, as we move ahead, a case study has been given in Brazil and garden study. You would realize that Brazil of late had experienced a very large rise in the number of anxiety and depression cases. So what they did is they modified certain things that when the people are sitting in the garden or when they're close to the environment or the fresh air, the anxiety cases on those particular set of people who were studied decreased. That is why do you realize when you go to urbanization, it is urban jungle where the depression and anxiety cases increase because you're far away from the natural environment. That is why over here, when we talk about smart cities, an inclusive smart city which has proper, let us say, environmental coverage, trees, gardens, this is very important for a proper standard of living and also the proper mental health issues they are addressed. So this Brazil and the garden study is very important towards resolving the issue that how anxiety and depression can be in a way resolved. Now that also involves people moving out of their room who all the time are sitting in their room, and then automatically that might lead to aggravation of mental health issues. Next is lifestyle improvement is being mentioned over here. Please remember what you eat. Increase in the junk food having a lot of, let us say, salt content, or on the other hand consuming cold drinks and drinks which have a lot of sugar content, both of them are like poison. These are one of those reasons which are basically leading to hypertensions, deteriorating your health dimensions, and obviously creating a lot of issues. Even you'll be realizing that various infertility issues are also rising because of the associated chemicals that you find in your junk food. That is why we say, again, lifestyle issues, consumerism, urbanization, all these things are very, very important factors which are aggravating. So what we need to do is we need to change our perception. Please understand, the problem is happiness is being associated with the power to buy things. That is what the problem is. Happiness is not the ability to buy things. It is a whole set of emotions, your feelings, all the dimension, how you resolve your issues, you connect with the people, you connect with your parents, you connect with your siblings. Not simply the power. Yes, it is an element, an important ingredient, that means finances, but you cannot equate to simply buying. That is what is being boosting the concept of materialism and in fact leading to a lot of cases of anxiety and depression that are on an upward turn. That is what the problem is there. Now, please understand. This is a case study where we see that factors affecting the mental health among the school children, which has been rise. We see academic pressure is there, homework, exams, competition, family dynamics. Like at home, let us say if the child sees cases of divorce, domestic violence, parental conflict, these are one of the reasons which impact the mental health of the children. Childhood trauma, let us say if certain emotional abuse has been there or physical abuse has been there, that creates a long-term negative impact and basically leads to a lot of mental health issues among the children. Environmental stresses, you see pollution, overcrowded living condition, exposure to violence in the community, again is one of the reasons for mental health issues. Digital stress, overexposure to, let us say, digital devices, even cyberbullying, weird comments coming up from the people, or let us say you're posting certain photos or videos, that itself basically confines you to a digital world or a virtual world, and you distance yourself from the real world. And that creates a position of stress and problems among the children, in particular the schools and even in the college. Genetic factors, obviously, depression and anxiety have also got to do with the genetic factors. If your parents, grandparents have had these things, there's a possibility that you might also be suffering from that. Peer relationships, that means pressure from the people in your same age. If somebody is having certain device, certain iPhone, certain gadgets, then if your parents possibly are not able to afford that, again, you feel that inferiority, and that inferiority leads to cases of anxiety and depression. Economic status, again, poverty and financial aspects are again a major dimensions among the school children also. So these are the things that are basically being observed. Again, National Mental Health Survey conducted in 2015-16 says prevalence of mental health disorders among the age of 13 and 17 close to 7.3% in both genders. We see that 26.8% of the girls are getting married below the legal age, while 8% of the girls between 15 to 18 already pregnant. That means at young age they're getting pregnant, they're going to have various hormonal impacts, they're going to have stress-related issues with the family in which they're married, or which automatically it will aggravate the dimension of the stress and problems associated with that. Survey also found that 37% of the women among 15 to 24 have experienced physical and sexual emotional violence by their husbands. Now, automatically, these will aggravate the mental health dimension and issues. According to National Crime Record Bureau, in 2011, the number of cases of suicides among the students have steadily increased from 7,696 students in 2011 to 13,089 in 2021. So we realize that so many mental health issues are being rising. Issues of, let us say, breakups in the affairs, failure in the exams. These have been the reasons which are basically contributing to the issues among the children in particular. If we move ahead, we realize what has been certain programs of action. National Mental Health Program was basically launched in 1982 with the following objectives. That means accessibility and availability of minimum psychological health care for the foreseeable future for everybody. Encourage application of psychological and health knowledge. Promote community participation in psychological health service. Now, please remember during those times, issue of depression and anxiety was something that was not given due weightage. People used to assume that only physical health dimension is what occupies the health, but you realize that if you want to study what is a healthy body, it is basically a combination of physical health, mental health, and the lack of disease is what is a healthy body, not simply absence of mere disease. So that is why at that time, though it was recognized but not given due weightage, we see in the district mental health program 1996 also basically gave certain aspects like training of the people, public awareness, monitoring certain dimensions, record keeping, all these things were again enunciated. But realize that it was in 2017 basically that we have the Mental Health Care Act. This Mental Health Care Act basically provided a lot of, let us say, due weightage to what the mental health issues are, and various dimensions are basically brought in. Right? For example, it aimed at better mental health care and protect the rights of the individual. Like right of individuals, Act guaranteed the right to access of psychological health care and treatment individuals with mental healthness. Advanced directive, it allows individuals to make advanced directives regarding the treatment. Decriminalization of the suicide and prohibits the use of electroconclusive therapy without anesthesia. Psychological health review boards were established. Insurance cover to cover the aspects of psychological health. Psychological health facilities to be there in various areas, even at the district level. Prohibition of inhuman treatment for those who are basically suffering from certain mental health issues was prohibited. Now we realize all these things basically came up for the welfare of the people who are suffering from mental health issues. Let us move ahead. This is again news in shorts. Please understand, we'll be quickly going through that. Fatah is basically a hypersonic missile. Now, this is an initiative news in short taken by us as a means to keep you updated with respect to the preliminary questions that can come. Now, Fatah 2 is a hypersonic missile which is basically being used by Iran during the Iran-Israel conflict. Now, what are the features of Fatah 2? Please understand. It is equipped with hypersonic glide vehicle warhead, now which allows to move at a speed from 5 Mach to 20 Mach. Remember, 1 Mach, Mach 1 is equivalent to speed of sound, right? 1 Mach is speed of sound, so that means it can move between 5 times the speed of sound to 20 times. Clear? Fatah 2 boasts a range of 1500 kilometers. So this is again something that you need to understand. The missile can accelerate even outside the Earth's atmosphere. Aerodynamic control allows the steering within the atmosphere. So now certain things you need to know. That Fatah was basically a hypersonic missile of Iran, which a speed of 5 Mach to 20 Mach. It has a range of close to, let us say, 1500 kilometers. So what has been important is basically put in red over here. Now, this should have a little bit of awareness about that. As we move ahead, NGLC. Now, this is a third launch pad. A proposal has been there at Sriharikota by the approval of the National Space Commission. Now, please understand what is the need for a new launch pad. to ensure the redundancy and accommodate the new generation launch vehicle. We realize that in future we have missions like Gaganyaan, so the payload that would be there, automatically the weight will increase of the payload. So we need to have automatically the new generation launch vehicle also in order to meet the newer requirements. So to ensure the redundancy and accommodate the new generation launch vehicle, so a proposal has been approved. The launch pad will feature horizontal integration and tilting, unlike the traditional vertical launches. Currently, the second launch vehicle pad is only one of the capable handling larger vehicles like GSLV and LVM3, but no backup is there. So that means we need an extra launch pad also. If, for example, if we want to meet the newer requirements or the future space programs that are coming, if we do not meet them, automatically there will be pressure. So new generation launch vehicle again is a need. First launch pad was initially designed for PSLV and cannot support the cryogenic stages, limiting it to the newer vehicles. Now, the new generation launch vehicle is being developed to meet the future demands with the goal of launching 20 tons payload to lower Earth orbit compared with the currently 9.2 tons with the LVM. So that means currently when the rocket launches are basically taking place, they have a limited ability to carry the payload. That means close to 9.3 ton. But if you want to increase the tonnage, because in the future we will be carrying the astronauts also. So what is the need? We need to have a newer facilities created. So that is why the new generation launch vehicle becomes very, very important. As we move ahead, academic freedom index. Now we see the academic freedom index, the India's rank has decreased. Now what is India's academic freedom score has dropped from 0.6 points in 2013 to 0.2 in 2023. Now what is academic freedom index? Please understand, academic freedom index is a part of Free to Think 2024 report by the Scholars at Risk SAR Academic Freedom Monitoring Project. Now SAR is a network of basically 665 universities globally, including Columbia University, Duke and New York University. So what were the findings with respect to India? So academic freedom is decreased. So what are the issues that the report says? It says that India is now ranked as completely restricted. Why? Because it says that in India, universities have been imposing restrictions in their campuses. Like Jawaharlal Nehru banned the protest, university banned the protest near academic building. South Asian University prohibited the students from protest in the campus entirely. Union government is also involved in certain disputes with the state government. So what these things basically happen is, they, according to the report, is perceived as restrictions upon the academic freedom. And that is why India's rank has been decreased. So they realize they want autonomy should be increased. The control that the governments are having over the universities should be decreased. More free speech should be promoted. So all these things are basically the core idea of academic freedom index, which again is being saying that India's rank is, that is why the reasons which has decreased. Now let's move ahead. Next is World Health Organization. Now it was basically mentioned in today's article. So let us see what brief idea of World Health Organization we should know. See, when India is the sixth largest contributor to the core funding of the World Health Organization, now this becomes important because this can be asked. Clear? Now, this was in the news, so you should have a little bit knowledge about World Health Organization. It is a specialized agency. This word is very important. This is a very important part. They can use the word organ of the United Nations. No, it is a specialized agency of United Nations responsible for international public health. Founded 1948, headquarters Geneva, members 194. It has a World Health Assembly, the highest decision making of the World Health Organization. It comprises representatives from all the member states. WHA appoints, that is World Health Assembly appoints Director General every 5 years and votes on the matters of policy finance of WHO, including the proposed budget. Secretariat is responsible for carrying out policies and programs that are approved by the World Health Assembly. Along with it, regional offices, there are 6 regional offices that are there. One at Africa, other for the Americas, Southeast Asia, Europe, Eastern Mediterranean, and the West Pacific. This is what is the dimension. Now coming to the questions, we see, please pause the screen and answer it. Pause the screen, answer it. Pause the screen, answer it. Pause the screen, answer it. These are your answers for today. . So this was the analysis of the Hindu from today, that is 10th of October 2024. We are trying to increase whatever is required to meet your requirements and make it very holistic and comprehensive without compromising the quality or what is the need of UPSC. Take care and we'll meet tomorrow. As you all say at the end, Jai Hind.